What does it really mean to be American and to be a patriot and to protect the innocent? I'm trying to come at this right now with as much love and light as I possibly can. And I also remind myself with this Bible in front of me, which I actually opened to Hebrews 13, and it says 13, 13, 13, 13, 13 in front of me in so many different spots, that we are meant to continue loving each other as brothers and sisters. And I'm transmuting this rage into a message where it's like, I don't know what I can teach people. I don't know how, rephrase that. I want to give people something to think about. And when I come at this awakening that we're all going through and being able to actually see what's going on around me, it fills me with this sadness and this anger when I see what is being done to our children, what is done to humanity, the way that people have actually been turned into what I call plastic people and have lost the ability to have empathy and compassion for one another. Because our bodies, our temples have been so filled with toxicity. It has literally changed us chemically and on the cellular level. Not me anymore after I detoxed and we're awake to it, but people who just can't see what's going on and people who are still so out of alignment. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm perfect, but my experience with the family court system, my experience growing up at the hands of alcoholics and continuing that pattern throughout my life, and just going through a divorce from an alcoholic who I stayed with for so long because I could literally see why he was struggling. I could see the goodness in him. I felt responsible for making sure he didn't hurt himself or somebody else. I asked for love. I asked for compassion. I asked for therapy. I asked for all the things. And when I had my own kids, I said, no more. And imagine waking up to what's going on, being diagnosed with CPTSD, healing grape trauma, healing childhood assault, essay through young life and into my adult life, and then also being assaulted by my own husband while he was under the influence. Going into family court and telling lawyers about that, telling them about a decades-long history of driving under the influence, of being so intoxicated with my children that he couldn't function, about being intoxicated in the hospital when I gave birth to my second child. In the hospital. And do you know how brainwashed you have to be to not be able to look at the nurses and doctors around you and say, help, this isn't safe for me or my children? To not be able to recognize the signs in my own body, how sick I actually was, that my body was trying to tell me how unsafe the environment was, how finally waking up to it in absolute grief and being cracked open to finally say no more and ask for help. And then in court, I was told that those things didn't matter. Your trauma doesn't matter. The assault that you're healing doesn't matter. The things that you're telling us about alcohol abuse and about sexual assault in your marriage are domestic issues. The court's not concerned about those when it comes to the safety of your children. We're worried about who can afford your children. We're worried about who can pay for your children. We're not worried about who can emotionally provide for them. We're not worried about who can make sure they don't have anxiety and they don't have depression and that they have two parents who are stable in their nervous systems that can communicate and provide them a healthy environment. We're worried about who can pay for them. That's what our systems have come to. How can you provide value and based on how much money you make and what you can provide for financially? That's what children are learning, that our children are being sold. I mean, even outside of all the atrocities going on in our country and our world right now. And how do we make it better? Because in the world that I dream of living in, we have a court system that isn't symptomatically treating things, that is looking at the situation and going, how did these two people get here? How did these two people get to this point where they are standing here in front of us? How does this trauma survivor, this diagnosed trauma survivor, which by the way, these diagnoses and labels, our neurodivergence isn't the problem. Our trauma, our PTSD isn't the problem. It is a response to the environment in which we are existing in. I literally looked at this sign in a yoga studio yesterday. It was like signs of stress. And it was literally a listing of everything that I was experiencing, all of the red flags that I was showing in my relationship. And no one around me either stood up or said, hey, we see an issue here. Or when I said, hey, there's an issue here, stood behind me and said, we're here to support you. We're here to make sure that you get the support you need so that your children get the support they need. Because when mom isn't good, kids aren't good. Science has actually shown that now. And my children are 3 and 5. It's not like they're teenagers. I was literally still experiencing intense postpartum depression, experiencing intense postpartum chemical changes in my body with little to no support. And our villages are gone. Women, instead of supporting each other after babies are born, are in competition against each other. We're behind our white picket fences. We're looking over it going, keeping up with the Joneses. Who's doing what? Who's got the bigger house? Who's got the nicer car? Who is running around getting the stuff done faster? And let's get together and drink over it when we're all upset and we're all fried. Let's all get together on Friday night and let our kids play in the basement while we get hammered. Because that's my experience with what's happening in suburbia, is a whole bunch of drunk adults who are numbing and masking. And it is absolutely devastating to me. I cried today in a yoga class, actually teaching a movement class, talking about the fact that this is also happening because men have not been given a space to be taught how to feel, how to have emotions. Or that it's okay to actually feel, that it's okay to emote, that it's okay to cry. And guess what? When all of that gets suppressed, it manifests as disease, as illness, as anxiety, as depression. People don't drink for decades, don't drink themselves to death, to sleep, to numbness for no reason. There's a reason behind it, people. Everything just gets treated symptomatically instead of at the roots. And I am so passionate about this because, again, you cannot say you are a family court system that is worried about and focused on the safety of children and then actively take actions that separate them from their mother, a mother who is clearly in stress-induced state, a trauma survivor who has communicated that she is healing all kinds of assault that has happened in her life, psychological, emotional, financial, and sexual abuse that she has experienced, and to tell that mother that that doesn't matter, but when you show us you can get a job and you can make money, then you can have your children. And meanwhile, all of those things that you're reporting to us about what was going on in your home, those are domestic issues. We're not worried about them. But since this man, the father of your children, has money and has a job, we're going to go ahead and let him have custody. So I asked the family court systems, what can we do? How can we collectively make this scenario better where we realize that that is just corruption and that is not concern for the safety of our children? And I am seeing across the board that so many women are having their children taken from them and being handed over to abusive partners. with no concern for the children and what kind of dynamic they're being put into, what kind of example they are being shown, because that's not a healthy family environment. What is a fit family environment? What is healthy for children to witness and see? Two adults with regulated nervous systems who can communicate and provide an environment for children that shows them that disagreement doesn't mean division, instead of one person simply silencing and shutting down the other one when they say something that they don't like. Instead of one person being allowed to have an opinion, instead of one person being allowed to make the decisions, and then sitting there and telling the children, teamwork makes the dream work. You can't sit here and tell our children teamwork makes the dream work, and then turn around and tell their mother, that's your opinion, keep it to yourself. This morning in the car, my 5-year-old recently made me a Mother's Day chart saying, my mother taught me to be kind and to always eat healthy food, because guess what? That is also what is dramatically affecting our thought process. Our gut is our first brain. The kingdom of heaven is within. Your body is your temple. Your body is your instrument. It is the most advanced technology on the planet. And guess what? When it's filled with glyphosate-covered food, and it's filled with microplastics and heavy metals and toxins that are actually changing us on the cellular level and causing cancers and causing diseases and causing illness, you're not human anymore. You've lost your ability to have empathy and compassion and actually operate as a human. You are not thinking like a person. You are thinking like an animal. If we're making America healthy again, then we're cutting all that stuff out. We're eating real foods. We're eating live foods. We are actually 12:12 on the timer said that we are treating each other with respect. We are treating each other as brothers and sisters like Jesus told us to. Now, I do believe this Bible has been thoroughly manipulated, written by man and manipulated by man to create a message of control, shame, fear, and etc. But there's a whole lot of stuff in here that Yeshua told us about unconditional love. But he also taught us to stand up for women and children. He taught us to protect the innocent, and he taught us to be a voice for the voiceless. And I went into family court and was told, you're not allowed to stand up for your children. You're not allowed to stand up for yourself. We're concerned about your PTSD, and we're concerned about you being a psychic. We're concerned about you being a medium. We're concerned about you communicating with spirits. We're concerned about you taking care of yourself. 13 on the timer right now while I said it. Look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 13s right here in front of me. 9 13s right here in front of me. The numerology is off the charts. You can't sit here in court and say, which my spiritual choices, my spiritual affiliations, my beliefs and my gifts are my constitutional right to have, that my experienced trauma and mental health status as a result of the trauma that I have experienced in the environment that I grew up in and the environment that I married into, and that my spiritual choices are reasons for me not to be able to have access to or custody of my children, or to be provided support in the community and through the courts. Where in our court system are the lawyers and judges actually informed on the conditions that people have while they're coming into the courts? Where are they informed on, this is what it's like to have PTSD? It's actually a traumatic brain injury. It is a brain injury. How are we treating people in court with a brain injury? And I'll tell you this, it wasn't even so much my ex trying to villainize me. It was the attorney doing business as usual. Being paid to make the other person look as bad as possible, regardless of the situation. Instead of actually looking at us like people and our children. And what our children are experiencing and going through. And also, where's the humanity? Where is the humanity? I don't know how many times I have to say it. And again, it's like I've been so quiet to a certain level because of the love and light side of things, and don't let your vibration be low, and let's focus on how we improve it. But also, like, if people don't know what's happening, you don't tell them your experience and what's going on, especially going through an unsupported spiritual awakening. How do they know that we need to change, that we need to alter these systems to provide more safety for the innocent? Because what I experienced shouldn't happen to anybody, not just me and my kids. It shouldn't happen to anybody. And it makes me so sad that it happens to anybody. What was I saying earlier? I literally cried today because I'm saying men haven't been given the space to be vulnerable and to actually learn how to feel. And that's how so much of this happens. And that's how women end up staying in these situations, because we're trying to fix it, because we can see what's going on in the inside, because we are the empaths, because we are the oracles, because we are the wisdom keepers. And we also, for so long, haven't been taught to stand up for ourselves, have been taught to pour from an empty cup, have been taught to carry it by ourselves. But guess what, ladies? If you are masculine, if you are opening his eyes to what's going on in the world, what's going on around you, trying to create safety for your children, trying to create healthy environments for them, not letting them turn into the brainwashed, blindly obedient soldiers that our school system, our government, our medical system are trying to turn them into. Our medical system that is symptomatically treating everything with big pharma medication instead of actually root healing, sunlight, nature, plants, vegetables. If everybody ate some freaking vegetables, they would be a whole lot nicer instead of this processed stuff. You are what you eat, from your head to your feet. So when you're eating dyes and processed stuff and meat, dead things instead of living things, guess what you're going to be as well. And I am it's a catch-22 with all of the advancements that are being made right now in legislation for psychedelics for treating trauma with veterans. And on one hand, I am incredibly grateful that they are making these moves, because I come from families that had veterans where the PTSD wasn't treated, and it has affected the entire family line. And I am grateful that advancements are being made on that level. There is also the concern of the government taking over handling of our sacred medicines, our sacred plant medicines that our ancestors knew were what God put here for us to use, for us to respectfully have a relationship with, because they all have a spirit. Everything has a spirit. We've lost our communion with nature. We've lost the way of paying attention to what nature is showing us. We've lost respect for the divine mother. Earth is like women. What you put into them, they will give back to you. And when you fill them with poisons, when you fill them with control, when you fill them with disrespect, they are going to erupt. Natural disasters, tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, they're not accidents. It's Mother Nature erupting at what is happening to her and on her and to her children. The rise of the divine feminine, women being called too much, women using their voices, women rising up and going, no more of this. It's not an accident. It is us responding to the suppression, the oppression, and the filling with injustice and poison that has happened for centuries. And the government taking control of plant medicines and turning it into something else that is monetized and used in a clinical setting as opposed to in its natural setting with respect and reverence that it is meant to. That's a different scenario. We'll see how all that handles out. But my also call in this is, this stuff shouldn't just be for veterans. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm so glad that it's being used for veterans, because they've seen some shit and they need it. But we have everyday citizens. We have mothers, we have fathers, we have young ones that are trauma survivors that also deserve access to our sacred medicines without being punished for it, because that was also used against me in family court. My choice for holistic healing, my choice for use of sacred medicine to treat trauma instead of, again, going on some sort of big pharma medication that was just going to band-aid and mask what I'm feeling. Let's all unmask here, okay? Let's remember who we are, remember our connection with nature, remember our connection to divine source creator, and remember who we are and what we're here for and what's happening right now. And seeing through the illusion and breaking down these old systems to rebuild new ones is all part of it. Being the change we want to see in the world. And I will admit, I have had a tough time embodying this. I have had a rough time embodying this. And it's because my children have been used as bait, as a carrot dangling in front of me. No more. No more. 21:21 on the timer. Today was the straw that broke the camel's back. I feel like, what's his name in that Office Space movie where they took his swing line stapler? He says, I'm gonna burn the place down. Milton. They took Milton's swing line stapler and they put him in the basement. And do you know what Milton did? He burned that place down. He told them. He kept telling them, I need my swing line stapler. I'm going to burn this place down. I'm going to burn this place down. And finally, they took his stapler. Milton burned that MFR down. And then he went to the beach and he ordered a Mai Tai with no salt. And they brought him a Mai Tai with salt. And he said, no salt. I said, no salt. However, I want everybody to have some salt because we've also been kept in magnesium depletion. Everybody have some salt, please. Some vegetables, some salt, some honey, some coconut water, some spring water. 22:22 on the timer when I said that. Ooh, that's another synchronicity. I actually literally have a binder where I had like 22:22 written down next to all like water, honey, all the things that Spirit's like, talk to them about the water. Tell them about the structured water. Being villainized for wanting to take care of myself, for wanting to stand up for my children, and I'm not the only one. The tone in your home affects how everybody's nervous system, including your children, react to this and are raised and are developed. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, but like, we cannot have this anymore. We cannot have children being ripped away from their mothers and mothers ultimately being erased, people trying to erase the mothers from their lives, especially people who are calling themselves Christians. And this is not finger pointing. This is showing the inverted brainwashing that has happened as a result of people sweeping everything under the rug and being more concerned about outward appearances than the actual state of affairs within a family. Golly. Oh, so fired up. But I'm passionate about what's happening to our children. And my 5-year-old is already exhibiting signs of anxiety of this. I got to see my kids for the first time for Mother's Day weekend for the first time in months because I literally left the scenario so that I could balance my nervous system. And my 5-year-old started talking about chest pain and it hurting in her heart when she's trying to breathe as I'm taking her back to her father. And I'm sure he will sit here and tell you, oh, there's times where they tell me that they want to be with me and they don't want to talk to you and stuff. And that's fine. I'm sure that kids are going to say whatever they think they need to say to please the parent that they're with, especially if they're in that people pleaser mode. But when my 3-year-old looks at me and says, Mommy, when do we get to come live with you forever? And my 5-year-old says, while we're at the beach, I don't want to leave here. I want to stay here with you forever. Mommy, please hurry. I'm tired. Like, enough is enough. Enough is enough. So what's going on, courts? What's going on justice system? Because you can't say that you are a system based on justice when innocence is being harmed in the process of laws being taken out. You cannot tell me that ethics are in place. When I had a conversation with a lawyer where I said, what kind of action do I have here? Well, you have a diagnosis and he doesn't. Well, of course I have a PTSD diagnosis because I'm the one that woke up and said, oh my God, I heard my own mother coming out of my mouth and I need therapy. And I went to therapy and got diagnosed, which again is your body's reaction, your nervous system's reaction to the environment in which you are existing. Which means when you have trauma, you are existing in a traumatic environment. I have that diagnosis because I went to do something about it. I'm not carrying that label with me, but it's because I tried to do something about it, because I did something about it. He doesn't have a diagnosis because he refused to go to AA. He refused to go to therapy. He refused to take any action to actually work on our marriage and try to improve the situation. I'm going to Al-Anon. I'm going to therapy. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to yoga. I'm becoming vegan. I'm cutting all this stuff out of my diet because God told me to. God within, in this temple, my angels and my spirit guides came in and said, take all this stuff to detox microplastics and heavy metals and parasites. You see through the illusion and you see what's going on. Now stand up for your children. And when I tried to stand up for my children, I got told, you don't get to speak. You sit down and be quiet. We're going to give them to the person who can pay for them. Our children are not for sale. Our children are not for sale. Now, what legislators do I need to talk to? Who do we need to talk to clean up what's happening? Because it is unacceptable for these poisons to be continuing to be in our systems. It is unpatriotic. Unpatriotic. The colonizers came here and acted like they were all brave and they made it through these winters and what a tough time they had without acknowledging that there were indigenous people here for thousands of years before them and they were doing just fine. And came in and said, you savages who are living in communion with Mother Earth, who are living by the laws of nature, who are living with sacred reciprocity, who understand being stewards of the land and stewards of community. Let's go back to the basics, huh? Back to the basics. Let's go back to a simpler way. Let's go back to the time when people realized that we weren't meant to be running around attached to devices, having our value tied to how big our house was, how many cars we had, and how much money we made. If you've got millions and billions of dollars, you should not have millions and billions of dollars without actually contributing to something for good. We've got homeless people living on the street. We got families that can't afford to feed their children. We've got people that are so filled with disease because they've never been taught how to have emotions or take care of themselves. And we got billionaires over here throwing big parties. What? How? Okay. I think for right now that this is and I had somebody say, you can start living your highest joy right now. Guess what? My highest joy is bringing this to people's attentions. These are my daughters. These are their pictures from last year because their new ones haven't come in yet. These are my two babies that I was at home raising, along with taking care of my own disabled mother who was a stroke survivor, who had a stroke because of her own alcoholism. And these two little girls have spent over a year now not living with their mother. And it's not okay. And again, I know I'm not the only one. And when we all start detoxing and clearing the trauma out of our bodies that we haven't realized that we've been holding until your nervous system actually starts reacting. Eat some vegetables, people. We gotta eat some vegetables. Golly. This is Everly, and this is Adeline. And I'm their mom. And I love being their mom. And there is nothing that anyone will do or can do that will ever break our bond. And I'm sorry, girls, that it's taken me so long to speak up. Mommy lost her sparkle for a long time. Not anymore. So if you care, speak up. Where are all my neurodivergents also speaking up? I know there's a ton of people out there speaking up, but also the people who care about the real healing and who care about creating healthy environments for families, not one centered around materialism, capitalism, and alcoholism. Okay. Thank you for listening. I didn't think I was going to talk that long, but here we are. And this is not the world that humanity was meant to have. This is not the world that Jesus, Yeshua, taught us about. And I know this is going to be controversial, but everybody that doesn't realize that we are in this massive awakening right now. We're being called to step forward. We're being called to use our voices and speak our truth. And that Trump, as much as people don't like a lot of what he's doing, he is here as a great disruptor. He is here picking up the rocks, shining the light on the creepy crawlies. He is here breaking down systems that didn't work. He is here building systems that focus on America first, because guess what? You got to take care of self before you can take care of everybody else. You can't sit here and take care of everybody else when your own systems are out of whack and we're not taking care of Americans. So I know, unpopular opinion, but it is what it is. And that's where I am. And that's what I know. And it's who I believe. It's what I believe. I know who I am. I know the spirits that have come to me and said, hi, I died of cancer because of the poison groundwater. Hi, I died of cancer because of the things that are being put in the cosmetics that are changing women on a cellular level and causing tumors. Hi, I died of cancer because I was assaulted as a child and I was never allowed to tell anybody, and it manifested into cancer. These things are harming us. And if we are meant to be in an existence of do no harm, if we have a family court system that is built on do no harm, then there should be repercussions when there is harm done. Because my children are being harmed. I was harmed. I was completely re-traumatized in my experience with family court. And it's not okay. And this is when we are protectors of light, when we are protectors of the innocent, when we are here to speak up, when we are here to tell people who you really are. You know, you're a piece of God. God lives within you. You are a piece of the divine source, divine creator. You are a fractal of source. We are all one. And everybody that thinks that we came here to submit to government, to pay taxes, to go to a 9-to-5, to run around, to drink shitty acidic coffee and eat sugar that feeds parasites in us and kill animals en masse and consume their dead flesh. Like, I cannot get on board with that. I cannot get on board with that. It is a game I will not play anymore. So let's put healthy stuff in our bodies. Let's create healthy environments for our children. Let's look at what's going on in our home, because as within, so without. There's no coincidence. What's happening in your home is a direct reflection of what's happening inside of you. So when your wife is being medicated for anxiety, when your wife starts completely disappearing and stop doing all of the things that she enjoyed doing and sitting on the back porch drinking wine and crying every night, don't look at her and say, what's wrong with you? Say, what's happening in our home and how do we fix it? How do we do it as a team? Not get it together and be a mom again. When stuff is happening in your house, when your basement's flooding, you got root chakra issues. When your shingles are flying off your roof and you got leaks, you got crown chakra issues. When you got septic issues, stuff with the plumbing, you got solar plexus gut issues. When the heart of your home is your mother and your home is falling apart and your mother is falling apart, it is time to evaluate. And the heart of Mother Earth has been falling apart. Whew. 36. Oof. Thank you for joining me on my soapbox. Everything that you consume, everything that you put in and around your body, the people you are intimate with, what you eat, what you watch, what you listen to, what you put on your skin, all of it affects you. So let's be conscious. Let's be intentional about what we're consuming, about who we're spending our time with, about what we're putting our energy into, and creating awareness for these systems that are not safe for our children, that are not safe for humanity, that are not safe for the people of America or the world. Whew. Imagine all the people living for today. Sorry, that just came out. Tell me I'm a dreamer. I mean, the world that I've dreamed of living in, the world that I've envisioned, is one where we don't have to live like this. And I know we don't have to anymore because we're changing it, 3838. But we're changing it because we're speaking up and we're making the changes. So let's change the world, okay? Let's change the world. Let's go back to the world that we were meant to have, where we all live in unity and communion and unconditional love. Because if it's not unconditional love, it's a fucking illusion, okay? Yeah, I said it. Did I stutter? Sometimes a well-placed fuck is all you need. Okay. Thank you for listening, if you've listened. And I'd like to hear from you. Let's love each other. Let's support each other. Let's be mama bears and papa bears who care about what happens to our baby bears and how they're living. Okay. All right. I love you. Good night.